Hello and welcome to our SAT prep video on the first pass strategy. So here's the idea. We can use this technique hopefully to maximize our score and efficiently get through an exam without wasting too much time on certain problems. Step one, in the first pass, what you want to do is you want to go through the entire test and you want to do all of the quote unquote easy problems. These are problems that you look at, you have a really good idea right away of how to solve them. It's not going to require a ton of reading, a ton of analysis, things like that are probably ones that you want to do first. And again, you should go through the whole test and do this, not just the first question, second question, okay? Then, while you're going through the tests, right, and figuring out which ones you can do quickly, you should look at, okay, which ones are doable but time consuming? Those ones I should put a plus sign next to. And while you're going through the test again, like I said, if you have no idea how to solve a problem, then you put a minus sign. And those would be the ones that you do last. Okay, so you go through, you do all the ones that you know you can do quickly or relatively easily. And while you're going through, you should put pluses and minuses next to the ones that are doable but time consuming, put a plus, or you have no idea, put a minus. Okay, so you can see there kind of our idea on how to approach this technique. Why this strategy works. Okay, on the SAT, every problem is worth the same amount of points. It doesn't matter if it's multiple choice or if it's gridded, if it's calculator, non-calculator, it does not matter. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to waste a bunch of time on one question trying to figure it out so hard that it causes you to maybe not even finish 5 other questions or 3 other questions, because those other questions are worth 3 times as many points or 5 times as many points because there's 5 of them or 3 of them, right? So we don't want to spend forever on any one given question, especially if we're not sure how to do it. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna have you do. You've got a bunch of problems on this sheet here, okay? And I know it says take 4 minutes, so we'll go about 4 minutes. I don't want you to actually solve any problems, okay? What I want you to do is basically go through these questions and either leave it blank next to it, meaning you think you could do it quickly, put a plus next to it, meaning it's doable but time consuming, okay? Or put a minus next to it, meaning it's not doable and you have a very hard time solving that problem. So just take a couple minutes, pause the video, okay? Please try this. Go through each question and either don't put anything next to it, which means you could solve it quickly or you know how to solve that problem, at least you think you do. Put a plus next to it, meaning it's doable, but it would take you a while. Like you could do it, but it's going to take you some time. Or put a minus next to it, meaning you have no idea how to solve that problem. Okay, so pause the video and just go through each problem and do that. Don't solve them yet. Just go through and put the plus minus system or nothing next to it and see what you come up with. Okay, so hopefully you, like I said, you paused the video, you took some time to try and practice this technique of putting these markings next to each question. Okay, we gave you a doozy to start with here, right? This first question is definitely one that even myself as a teacher, I would have put a minus next to this one. I mean, look at all of the reading you have to do. Look at the chart you have to do, the question you have to answer. I mean, even this work here in our answer key, it's a lot of work for this one question. I would imagine a lot of students would have spent, 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes even on this question, which is far too long. It means you're going to probably miss out on more questions that are simpler and maybe easier for you to solve, okay? It doesn't mean skip all word problems or skip all ones with charts. Sometimes those are easy, but this one is, I would say definitely on the harder end of things. So here's our key, okay? Here's how we approached it. We have a field that's 10 by 10, so roughly 100 square meters, okay? 10 students each mark off a randomly selected region. So you can see here, we've got our students, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 students, okay? It's a 1 by 1 square, okay? The students count the earthworms contained in their soil depth of 5 centimeters, and they record the results. So here's what we got, okay? The question is, which of the following is a reasonable approximation of the number of earthworms to a depth of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface in the entire field? So we basically have how many square meters calculated here. We've got our 10, right? Because there's 10 students, okay? And we would multiply our results by 10 essentially. And if you look at these, the average earthworms was around 150-ish. Okay, and that's what you see here. It's roughly an average of 150. So if that means we only did 10 square meters of calculation though, right? Because each person did 1 square meter. So we have to multiply that by 10 to get 100 square meters. So if we take 150 times 10, that's going to give us our approximation of 1,500. So not a terribly hard calculation, but you had to do a lot of number crunching, a lot of analysis, maybe even draw a picture to help yourself out. So that's a pretty sneaky question, okay? Number 2, we did not put a plus or a minus next to, meaning we think this is one that you should be able to solve quickly, okay? This is a little bit of Algebra 2 review. It is based on complex numbers or imaginary numbers. And the idea with these, if you're adding them, the key is we're adding them. So this is basically just like combining like terms. So combine like terms. So 5 plus 2 is 7, 3i, sorry, not negative, it's positive 3i plus negative 4i. So 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. So I get negative 1i. Okay, you also could do this on your calculator. There should be, if this was multiplication, so multiply, you could do on your calculator. You could also FOIL this, like if it was a non-calculator section, you could FOIL. It's the same idea, okay? But you actually can use your calculator to do imaginary number problems if you so choose. Number 3, okay, is a question that we put a plus sign next to, as you can see here. So here's how we solve this problem. So plus means it's doable, but it might take you longer. And maybe you felt different. Maybe you felt this was a minus sign for you. Everybody's different. So we all have different levels. We all have different abilities. So you might have put a minus for this one just because of the percents and the extra reading. You know, that's okay. But we thought maybe this was a plus for most people. So Andrea goes to Subway, and an original sandwich has a price of $6.99. Okay, she has a coupon for 5% off and another coupon for 15% off. Sales tax is 11%. What is the final price? Now, when you do multiple percents off, you can't just take 20% off in this case. So you cannot take off 20%. You can't combine them, okay? Stores won't let you do that. Now, if a store does let you do that, you should take advantage of it because it's to your benefit if that happens. But they will not let you do that usually because it's more off than they want. So what we did here was we figured out, okay, if we're doing 15% off, right, that means that we have 85% of the original value left. So $6.99 times 0.85. So this is my new value. This is the value after 15% off. We take that value, okay? Now we're taking 5% off, which means we still have 95% of the original value. So that's why we're multiplying by 0.95, okay? So you take that new value, 5.9, multiply by 0.95, gives you your price or your cost after your discounts, but you have to add tax back on. So you see how it says 1.1, okay? That means you have a whole, that's the 1, and you're adding 11% back on. So that's why we're multiplying that 5.6 by 1.11, because that adds the 11% back on. So you can see our new price is 6.27. So again, when you do percent off, really what you want to do is you want to multiply by what value is left. So if I'm taking 15% off, I want to multiply by 0.85 because that's my remaining value, okay? I have 85% value left basically. And then when you're adding value on, like 11%, adding that on, you want to do 1 plus that number, so 1.11. That would put the value back up with adding the tax on there. Okay. Number 4, we also put a plus next to us. Now, this is a good example. It's a chart. There's reading. There's all this stuff going on, but it's doable and just takes time. Okay. So if you read through this, it says the data in the table below were produced by a sleep research studying the number of dreams people recall when they record their dreams for 1 week. Okay. Group X consisted of 100 people who observed early bedtimes. Group Y is 100 people who observed late bedtimes. If a person chosen at random from those who recalled at least one dream, what is the probability that the person belonged in group Y? So we know we have a stipulation here. It's a person who recalled at least one dream, meaning we don't include the 0 dreams. So you see why this is all scribbled out, okay? So we got to figure out, the remaining total people left in the study after we take out the 0 dreams, which is this right here. That's the 164. So probability is always the number desired outcomes over the number of total outcomes. Okay, so the total outcomes is 164. The number of desired outcomes is going to be, it says, this person came from group Y. So group Y, which is right here, okay, that's our 79. So we'd have our 79 over 164, desired outcomes over total possible outcomes. Okay, so that's question 4. Question 5, we also put, didn't put a plus or minus next to it because there's a little bit of algebra. When you have an absolute value, okay, you want to basically split that absolute value into 2 equations after you isolate it. So we want to isolate the absolute value, which is this step right here. Then you can split it into 2 equations, one with +1, one with -1, and then you solve. You also could guess and check. This is a really good problem where I could just take these numbers, plug them in, and see which one's going to give me a value of 0. It's really fast to do that way, and probably what I would do for a lot of solving equation type questions on an SAT if I know I can plug that in and check it efficiently, because it saves you a lot of time, and you don't have to go through sometimes all the extra algebra if you don't want to. Okay. Number 6 is our last question. Sorry, not the last question here. Number 6, we also did not put a plus or minus next to, which means we think this is one that should be solvable quickly. Okay. This is synthetic division, is what we're using here. So here's what happens. You take all of the coefficients, 12, 11, -5. That's these numbers right here, 12, 11, -5. Okay? Then what you do is you take what makes this equal to 0 down here. That would be x equals 1, right? So that's what number goes right there. And the process, if you forgot how to do long division, is you drag the 12 down. Okay, you multiply. This is 1 times 12, which gives me 12. Then you add down. So 11 times plus 12 is 23. Then you multiply. So 1 times 23 equals 23. And then you add down. Okay, this last part is called your remainder. And you see that's the part that goes over your divisor, 18 over x minus 1. Also, how do you know where to start your values? Because it started with x squared, so I know this is going to be x to the first. It always starts 1 less because you're dividing by x basically there. So that's how we get our solution with synthetic division. You also learned long division. It's a lot more work though. Okay, synthetic division works though only, let me specify this, synthetic division only works when you are dividing by a linear binomial. That's when you want to use synthetic division, meaning it's to the first power, like x to the first power, okay? And it has 2 terms, x minus 1 in this case. All right, so here's our last 2 here. We'll go ahead and look at 7. Again, we didn't put any plus or minus next to this, so we thought that, this is probably one that should be doable quickly. Okay. Another great example of why not use guess and check. They're telling you what k is. So like it says here, just plug that in. So you get x plus 4 over 2 equals 5. Now, this is not a very hard algebra problem, but you could use guess and check. 6 plus 4 is 10 divided by 2. That's going to be 5. That's a pretty quick one to do. Or do the algebra. Multiply the 2 over. Okay, you get x plus 4 equals 10. Subtract the 6. So again, the key is you had to know how to use that 5, and it should make sense, right? If k equals 5, why can't I just plug that in for k? And then I only have one variable, and then I can solve for that variable using algebra, or I guess you could guess and check if you had to. Last one. Again, no plus or minus here, right? So this is one that we think we should be able to solve quickly and easily. Well, not too bad. What do? We subtract the 2 over first, right? So minus 2, so we get root t equals 3, and then we square both sides. Remember this, if I square this, I just get t. So we have to square both sides, okay? And that's how we get t equals 9. And then here, the 9, just so you know for your grid ends, that 9 can go at the beginning or at the very end, doesn't matter where you place it. Okay, so that's gonna be it for our video on the first pass technique. So your next practice test, you should try this. Go through those questions and look at, okay, which one can I do quickly and easily? Which one is doable, okay, but I might need more time, put a plus next to that one. Which ones do I have no idea, and put a minus next to those. And you always do the ones first that you can do quickly, and then keep working through the test in that manner, okay? Other than that, just want to remind you, we are available during all, lunch periods, times basically. So that would be like a normal, 4th, 5th, 6th periods, and 7th, okay? Which right now are different with our A and B days, but please take advantage of those, okay? Come on in, we're willing to help you guys, whether it's questions about these videos, questions on your practice tests. We'd love to see you guys and give you a hand in getting ready for the SAT. So thank you again for watching. Have a great day.